join us. A pleasant evening to you. As you're quite aware, today was a very momentous day here in Ghana and at our National Assembly. Today we were much anticipating the results or the decision that would have been made by the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Honorable Raphael Trotman, pertaining to the motion to gag the Honorable Clement Rohey, Minister of Home Affairs. Well, joining me to discuss what transpired today in the National Assembly, we have the Honorable Prime Minister Samuel Hinds. Sitting next to Prime Minister Hinds is the Honorable Clement Rohey, Minister of Home Affairs, and Dr. Leslie Ramsamy, Minister of Agriculture. Gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening.
Today was quite a momentous one for us here in Guyana. It is one that set a new precedence in our parliamentary life. Let's start with Prime Minister. Give us a recount of what happened today.
Well, today we were met with this, the motion. There had been talk about this motion coming in, but I saw it for the first time. I think most people saw it when we got into Parliament, this motion to prevent Honorable Clement Rohey, Minister of Home Affairs, from speaking in the National Assembly. It is something that we think is totally wrong, against all conventions, all rules. I think that when we look to what has happened, to the cause for this, and the cause goes back to the events of July 18th in Linden, when we think of the cause, and when we think of the fact of what has been said in the course of the Commission of Inquiry, I think that even the earlier motion of no confidence in the minister was misplaced, had no basis. And now we go to the opposition, this motion put up by Brigadier retired David Granger and supported by Mr. Ramjatan. I think that this motion has even less basis when we think about it. If we go back, the position seems to have been taken that with the events in Linden on July 18th, Minister Rohey had somehow erred and that was at fault. And in particular, you may recall that they were saying that he interposed himself into the hierarchy of the police, and that he had been speaking with the officers on the spot, and that he had given them the direction to be very robust and to take maybe even to use lethal fire on the protesters there. But then it came out very clearly. You remember there was a headline that the Kaito News, I think it was, that said Minister Rohey spoke how many times? 4-6 times, something with the assistant commissioner, whoever.
But then the Commission of Inquiry.
And then later on it came out in the Commission of Inquiry that he did not speak with them before the event. He spoke with them after the event. So I think that when we look back at what happened and what came out of the Commission of Inquiry, I would have thought that the opposition people would have been doing the very opposite, putting their tails between their legs on this matter. And I think that the Commission of Inquiry has shown that a lot of their presumptions could not be supported in the Commission of Inquiry. So I think it was an affront for them to take this other step to seek to gag the minister. I don't think there is no basis for them to have proceeded other than the fact that they have 33 votes and we have 32 votes. There's no other basis.
If we were to go back to what actually transpired today and the ruling by the Honorable Raphael Trotman, who said that he would take the matter to the Privilege Committee, and also he believes it is fair to give the person the right to respond. And I think it is only fair that we allow Minister Rohey the privilege to address this issue publicly, because I know it is one of national concern. Minister Rohey?
Well, natural justice is always something that has to be reaffirmed and addressed in the context of a situation such as this. I think the opposition member Baka was living in a fool's paradise when she said that I was given the opportunity to respond when the motion, the no confidence motion came up. In fact, I spoke for about 3 minutes or even less, because I made a extremely short statement where I said that I prefer not to speak at length on this matter in the Parliament, and that I prefer to wait the outcome of the Commission of Inquiry's deliberations. And I ended my presentation on that note. So to say that I stood up and had a say in respect to the no confidence motion is totally incorrect and erroneous. But in this situation, I hold the same position in the sense that, just as I said that I have a clear conscience in respect to the events at Linden, I maintain that that is the case, as I did when I gave my testimony to the Commission of Inquiry. And in the same way, if and when this privileges committee gets going, I will take a similar position in respect to the fact that I've never did anything to disrupt the order of the National Assembly's proceedings. And going before the Privileges Committee has to do with a member disrupting the peace and good order of the National Assembly's proceedings, being disrespectful to the Speaker, etc. And therefore, to be sent before that committee for some sanction or the other. So I am clear. The position is very clear.
I think this is what many Guyanese would be asking themselves. First, it was a no confidence vote.
Yeah.
Then it was a motion to prevent you from speaking in Parliament. Now we are going to the Privilege Committee. How did we end up to this point?
Well, I think it has dawned upon the opposition that the no confidence motion and Rohi must go had reached a dead end, because the only person that can remove a minister from office is the president. The only person who could remove a member of parliament is the head of the list, who is Mr. Donald Ramotar. What they are trying to do is to insert themselves in this process and to arrogate to themselves the right to dismiss a minister, to give a minister marching orders, and secondly, to deprive a member of parliament from exercising his constitutional right within the confines, or within, as they say, the hallowed chambers of the National Assembly. My view is, your right to speak is inviolable. You cannot take away this right of someone to speak, as long as that person is a citizen of Guyana. If he's in a mosque, if he's in a temple, if he's in a whatever the environment is, there are certain obligations and duties that go along with those rights. For example, you don't go into a cinema and shout fire, fire, and create, havoc and mischief. Mm-hmm. You don't go into a place of worship and engage in blasphemy and so forth. So while you have this freedom of expression, it has certain limitations as well. But the fundamental constitutional right to speak is an inviolable right. It cannot be taken away from you unless I decide that I'm not going to speak, or unless I die. So I think what has happened, having reached this dead end in respect to Rohi must go, they've now moved to another stage, which is he can stay, but he can't speak in the National Assembly. And now, in the meantime, while the matter is with the Privileges Committee, the question of his of bills in his name are not going to be entertained so long as the Privileges Committee is addressing the matter.
I'm sure that you will want to argue in the school of thought that perhaps it will be ruled in the favor of the opposition. I'm not saying I'm preempting here, but perhaps using the power of majority again and at the Privilege Committee, it will be all the decisions will be met in favor of the opposition. In the interim, do you think that the public's interest is well represented? Because law and order and security matters are of importance to any state. And asking you as the Minister of Home Affairs to be quiet while we wait on the Privilege Committee to make a decision, is it fair to the people of Guyana?
Well, it's not fair at all, whether it's to the persons who voted for the PPP Civic or for the persons who voted for the APNU or the AFC. Because when we took the oath of office, we all committed ourselves to fulfill our responsibility without fear or favor, affection or ill will. So I'm not the Minister of Home Affairs only for the PPP Civic supporters. I'm the Minister of Home Affairs for the entire country. And therefore, anytime we're passing a law or anytime a bill is taken to the National Assembly, it takes into consideration the national situation and how the people are affected with those. So you're quite correct in the sense that it is something almost impossible to believe where you have the Minister of Home Affairs of a country not being allowed to bring very important pieces of legislation treating with public safety and security for the entire people and it being disallowed by the Speaker.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe we should make a fine distinction here. The issue that is going to the Privileges Committee is not the gag order in itself. It is more to discuss and maybe come to a position on whether all the procedures and processes are being met to get to this motion to gag Minister Rohi. So the motion to gag Minister Rohi is stayed in Parliament whilst they go and say, okay, it's correct to do this motion, or if we can have this motion, he must be given 10 minutes to speak, maybe say something about the procedures and processes. What we would like, what we would like is that we get through that quickly and come to the motion. If it is that we have to come to the motion, let us get through it quickly and come to the motion. Parliament is to be meet again on the
16th of December.
The 17th, I think it is the 17th, Monday the 17th of December, and I would like it that maybe that the Privileges Committee could carry through all their considerations, and if it is that we have to get to the motion, then let us get to the motion on the 17th of December. That is what I think we should have, because we could not abide by a position where the minister is indefinitely, effectively gagged. I did get up to see that the ruling of the Speaker, even though he might have reached it after much anguish as to what to do, but that ruling effectively gags the minister and effectively accomplishes what the motion is to accomplish. So let's get the motion onto the floor. Let's go through between now and the 17th of December. Let's have all the considerations at the Privileges Committee, and if it is to be, and it is most likely it's going to be that way, we're eager. We of the PPP Civic, we're eager to debate this motion.
Minister Ramsamy, I know that should this motion be successful, it sets a precedent, and I'm sure all parliamentarians will be concerned.
Well, let me say successful is a question of only votes, right? This is what it means. It's only a question of votes, majority votes.
We are setting many precedents. Usually when we talk about precedents, we're setting precedents for good things. What happened in our parliament today and what has been happening have been happening in our parliament are supposed to be things done by honorable men. Nothing honorable happened today. And I want to make that quite clear. I'm sad for my country. I'm sad for our parliament. The Prime Minister used a word in parliament today that best describe what happened: grotesque. What happened in our parliament today is the backdoor way of stymieing democracy. And it was done by people who have a history of dictatorship and tyranny in our country. We have tyranny in our parliament, and I hate when I hear this thing being used that there's a majority in parliament. The people of this country voted the PPP Civic to maintain government. We got 32 seats in parliament. No other party has more seats than we do. And yet, and I would want to challenge Mr. Ramjatan and Mr. Nagamoto and all of them to go and face the people who voted for them in Berbice to say they voted to gag Minister Rohi. I want them to go and tell the people that. Because the people of this country, whether they voted for us or anybody else, voted for them to have representatives to speak on their behalf. We have gone to our parliament in the most grotesque way. We have gone to our parliament not setting precedents for improvement and good practices. We have gone to our parliament and we are saying to the people, now that we conned you into putting us there, we are going to take away your freedom. It's not Clement Rohi's freedom that is being threatened. It is the freedom of our country, the freedom and democracy that we have struggled for and people have given their lives. That is what is at stake today. And we must frontally address this. What the Speaker did is not just APNU and EFC. I want to say to the Speaker, what you did today, and I know I'm treading on some territories here, because the Speaker himself said, not just in Parliament, but in privacy of other meetings, and I was present at a meeting with the Speaker this week, with the High Commissioner of the United Kingdom, where the Speaker himself said that there is nothing in the law. The whole country heard this on television. The Speaker saying that there is nothing in our laws, there is nothing in our Constitution, there is nothing in our standing order to gag any member of Parliament. And yet we go to Parliament and the Speaker didn't even worry about the motion to gag the minister. He gagged the minister. He says that whilst we go to a committee of censorship, of privilege, that he is going to gag the minister, that the minister can't bring no bill.
It brings me to the next question, that is,
But let me
again,
just say this, that Minister, I am one of the people who know the standing orders. Twice we have revised the standing orders in the last few years. And twice I chaired that. The Speaker sat with me on this committee. I know the standing order. The standing order for privilege of committee is very, very clear. Very clear. It is about some indiscipline or bad behavior. And if anybody behaved bad in this Parliament, we know that they disrespected the Speaker. That is a matter for the Privilege Committee. But yet we didn't address that. We are taking the minister to a Privilege Committee for something that the Privilege Committee has no jurisdiction for.
how
Absolutely not.
did we reach to
We
this
reached
phase?
there because you have a set of irresponsible people, honorable, but irresponsible, intent on doing the dishonorable thing and intent on breaking all the laws of our Parliament. And I have absolutely, I'm not going to play around with words. I say that the freedom that we fought for and the strong democracy that we have been building in our country is being eroded, gradually being eroded. And we need to be careful. We need to be careful the road we are treading right now. I say that the AFC and APNU are utilizing the fact that they have together won more seats than us to, in some perverse way, eroding our democracy, and in the process, the welfare of our people are not being served. The laws do cater. The laws do cater. The laws, the Constitution, our standing orders and so on cater for a no confidence motion against the government. Not against a minister, because you see, whatever Minister Rohi does, I did too. The Prime Minister did too. We have a collective parliament. And the truth is that you can't pick on him, you gotta pick on us.
But I want to clarify this point here. I suppose the government welcomes the opposition policing the work of any minister.
It is this government that have put all the mechanisms in place for the scrutiny of this government. We know, in spite of what Mr. Greenidge may say, it was under his watch and under the PNC that the PAC was impotent. It had no Auditor General report to look at. There was no sector committee. What we do in one session of Parliament, in one session, in terms of select committee and so, the Parliament of Guyana from independence to 1992 never had so many select committees. We have sector committees, etc., and special standing committee and so on to scrutinize the government. We have television programs, 1, 2, 3, 4 week, Nation Watch, all kinds of things scrutinizing this government. And yet, you know, every single day, you as a media person, because media get access to these things, every single session of Parliament, there are audited reports, annual reports, etc., that people have. So that this Parliament is an example of a Parliament that has been doing the people's work. And what these members of Parliament are doing right now is, in fact, countering the work of Parliament, removing it from doing the people's work and removing it from representing the people's causes in Parliament.
On the note of the people's work, Minister Rohi, how important is the Firearm Amendment Bill?
Extremely important, because it's a bill that is aimed at putting measures in place to prevent the trafficking in firearms. Trafficking in firearms is a major challenge in this new modern fight against criminal, what is called organized crime, international organized crime, where you have small arms moving around the world, even though countries don't manufacture them. You have countries that manufacture such things, but you have persons who are procuring them on behalf of others and are smuggling them, shipping them in components, small parts, and then assembling them in the country, in the destination country. So in the same way we're fighting against trafficking in persons, trafficking in diamonds, blood diamonds, we are in the world carrying out a campaign now and also putting legislation in place to stamp out trafficking in firearms. So if the APNU and the AFC wants the trafficking in firearms to continue, then they will be contributing to this global problem. We want to put a stop to it. We would like them to join with us to support a bill to prevent the trafficking in firearms. But it would seem as though personal vendetta against me now takes precedence, as you said, over a national issue which has to do with trafficking concerns. You see, people talk a lot about putting country first. Here is a good example where the prevention of trafficking in firearms is good for Guyana. But they prefer to put that aside and focus only on gagging the Minister of Home Affairs and preventing him from speaking. So this gives a good example to show where their priorities are. I want to suggest that the majoritarian approach by the opposition is not the solution to all these measures that we're seeking to pass in the National Assembly. They have opted for what is called a vengeful approach. They're going after vengeance. They're seeking after somebody's neck and after somebody's blood. And I agree with Minister Ramsamy and Prime Minister Amhines that if you injure one, you injure all. And I believe that in the final analysis, this step is going to be politically counterproductive, and what they're actually holding in their hand is a petard which will eventually explode on themselves.
Minister, before we wrap and we say goodbye, what is the way forward now while we wait on the decision of Parliament?
The way forward, as far as I could see, is greater flexibility and understanding and compromise. The Ministry of Home Affairs have made it very clear, without getting into too many details, that changes are on the horizon. There are some fundamental changes that are coming to the security sector. Cabinet has already started considering those changes and have given the approval to some already. More are to come. And we don't mind sharing these at some point in time with the opposition. Because to keep on with the mantra that, you know, we are responsible for one time they said 400 people, then they reduced it to 200, and then another time someone said 170. This is the main accusation that they're making against the government. Now, we say give that information to the police, let the police investigate these numbers. Don't just keep talking about them for political propaganda. Give it to the police so that the police could investigate these claims that you're making. When Mr. Corbyn was there, he gave 400 names or plus to the police. Granger is now here, he's talking about 200 people. I have said publicly that Granger must give those 200 names to the police, which he claims have been executed, have been killed execution style. So many black people have been killed, and, you know, twisting this thing in a racial way, as though we have a government here that is killing black people, which is totally untrue. There's no proof or evidence that attests to that. So there is what is called a Parliamentary Oversight Committee of the Security Sector. Mr. Granger has intentionally not set up this Parliamentary Oversight Committee on the Security Sector. That is the body within Parliament that should be functioning in a very dynamic and proactive way to oversee the security sector, where the minister should be called to answer certain questions. The Commissioner of Police, the Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defence Force, any question they want to ask these persons, that committee is the committee to which they should be invited to answer those questions. In my view, that is the way forward. If you want to get into the meat of the matter as to what is really taking place in the security sector, the answer is not gagging the minister. The answer is more dialogue, more conversation, more discussion, not gagging. Because you gag one side keeps talking, that doesn't take the country forward.
Gentlemen, I want to say thank you very much, and I want to say thank you very much for joining us. Until the next time when we continue our discussion in Parliament, I wish you a pleasant night.